You know, long before there were tablets or there was a YouTube or DVDs or DVRs or on-demand anything, even VHS or VCRs, it was a tad heartbreaking to be a little kid at your grandparents' house on a Sunday night, like, oh, I don't know, 7 o'clock, as The Wizard of Oz was coming on network TV. And there were your parents getting their coats on, standing by the car, let's all get in, we're going home. And it was an hour-long trip to get home. Yeah, that happened, I think more than once. But luckily, they kept playing The Wizard of Oz on network TV year after year, so I did get lots more chances to watch it in its entirety. But you know, even back in the 1970s, I got an opportunity to have The Wizard of Oz really anytime I wanted to, with a smashing set of figures, or dolls really, from Mego. We have no choice but to begin with the little girl that the Wizard of Oz story centered around, Dorothy Gale of Kansas, as played by Judy Garland in the 1939 movie The Wizard of Oz. And this is my Dorothy Mego doll from childhood. There is a story around this girl, and it's a story I am not proud of. This doll caused a fight between my grandparents when I was a little kid, and I am duly and appropriately ashamed of that. I was staying over at my grandparents' house in Saginaw, Michigan for the weekend, just visiting them and having fun as a little girl and all that. And they took me shopping, and I don't know where it was over there in Saginaw. Could have been a number of different stores like Kmart or Meijer or whatever. And I laid eyes on this doll in the toy department, and I wanted this doll so badly because I loved the movie, and I begged and begged and begged for this doll, and my grandpa felt that it was too expensive. It was like, oh, I don't know, $5. And my grandma really wanted to get it for me, and they argued and argued, and we left the store without the doll. And then that night, I was in the guest bedroom, not asleep yet, but having gone to bed, and I could hear them arguing about it out in the living room, and they just argued rather viciously about it. And I felt just terrible, and I should have felt terrible. But then the next day, we went back to the store, and I got the doll, and my grandma won that battle, and that was so rare, very, very rare for my grandma to win a battle like that. And so I got my doll, but, you know, feeling very badly about it. She is a beautiful doll. She's been played with a lot. I don't know if you can see through the camera. She's got some dirt on her dress. But it is very good replica of what Judy Garland wore in this movie. And of course with her braids and her hair and all of that. Judy Garland was just 17 when the movie came out in 1939, and she was 16 years old during filming. And she was born Frances Ethel Gum. Her name was changed when she signed on with MGM in the earlier 30s, 1935. And then, of course, this movie just made her a huge star. So you can see this Mego doll is the regular Mego female mold that you see. Very pink, pinky white skin. And that's one thing I noticed when I got this doll. I could tell that this doll was the same as the superhero Megos that I had, like Batgirl, for instance, same mold. I could tell that as a little girl. But the skin tone was different, whereas Batgirl is a tan skin tone. Dorothy is very pink. Now you can see, along with a little bit of dirt on her dress and some wear, she is missing one of her bobby socks. And then her shoes, her ruby slippers, are a little bit split. You can see. Again, she was just played with so much. And this Dorothy, oh boy, she is missing her underwear. This Dorothy came with underwear traditionally. I don't know who that ended up with, one of my other Megos, no doubt. And then this doll came with Toto in the basket, and the basket has broken over time. The handle broke off. You can see there's dirt inside there. Played with this thing like crazy. Toto, I think, is intact. See Toto there, little plastic Toto. And she is also missing the ribbons in her hair, and I think these rubber bands, I had to have replaced these at one time. These look like they've been replaced. So I carefully, I guess without unbraiding her hair, or did I rebraid her hair? Well, we'll check. We'll check, because I've got something else to show you. Look at that! A Dorothy in the box. Not just one, but two Dorothys in the box. And I got these Dorothy Megos just recently, as of shoot time of this episode. They came as a package deal with some other items that you're going to see in future episodes of terrific non-TV toys. But one of them is fully intact and appears to be unopened. She's got her Toto in the basket. She's got both shoes and socks. She's got everything. And you can see ribbons in her hair. She looks nice and clean, and we'll look at the box carefully. I barely remember this box from childhood because it got torn off right away, and I was playing with that doll at my grandparents' house. You can see the other dolls, most of the other dolls in this collection. This is not the complete collection, but I've got all of these, which you will see in future episodes. Wicked Witch, Cowardly Lion, Tin Woodsman, Scarecrow, and Glinda, the Good Witch. And then on the back, I love the graphics that they put on the back of this box. This is the Emerald City playset, which you will also see in a future episode. So everything that you see here, I have in my collection as of recently. So I just got the Emerald City playset. I see that's a sticker that I'm not going to disturb, but not on this one. But I have everything pictured here, and I was thinking it was the full set of this Mego Wizard of Oz collection, but I realized when I went to megomuseum.com, which I highly recommend if you want to know more about these Megos, there were a couple more play sets. There was a Witch's Castle, and there was a Munchkinland play set, which I totally never knew as a kid. And then there were little Munchkin dolls too, which I think I remember seeing in the stores at the time, and I just was not interested in the little Munchkin dolls, so I did not get those. But these four, and plus her five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 5 I got as a kid, and then these two, the Wicked Witch and the Wizard, I got later, which we will profile all of them in a multi-part series on Terrific Non-TV Toys. I will note that these are dated 1974 Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Inc. copyright. And then the Mego verbiage over here, New York, New York. If you go to megomuseum.com, it shows these Wizard of Oz Megos in the 1975 catalog for Megos. So 1974, 1975, somewhere around there, this stuff began to be released. And this other one that I got as part of a package deal, she is just the Dorothy, and she has been opened because the plastic is split here in a couple places, and her Toto and her basket are gone. So I will get rid of one or both of these. I probably don't need, I mean, it's enough for me, I think, to keep the Dorothy from my childhood. I really don't need these extras. So if you are interested in either one of these, email me at brb@brbtv.com. and we'll talk about what would be a fair price. I will note the little yellow ribbon in that girl. So, and she has not been removed because she's got the twist tie around her waist. So somebody just reached in and took out the Toto in the basket. But this one is intact, and you can see there's a price tag somewhere along the line for $12. That would have been a vendor, toy collector show, something like that, because she definitely was not originally $12 in the stores. So yeah, I want to take a look too, talking about the date. Let's see what this girl is stamped, because I always like to look at their imprints too. On her back, Mego Corp. Oh, it's got the Roman numerals. CMMLL XX2. 72 for the mold. I guess just for the body mold. Not really an indication of Dorothy herself, except for the head. 1970. Am I seeing 19? 74 on the head. It's so hard. I should have grabbed my loop before this episode. Interesting little trivia that the ruby slippers are a very, very popular item at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. at the Museum of, oh, it's like the pop culture exhibit at the Museum of American Art, I want to say. One of the many Smithsonian buildings in DC, and they're so popular that the carpet in front of them was worn out, I read online, which I found interesting. But in the book, in the original book by L. Frank Baum, and here are two versions of that book I've owned since I was a kid. This is part by Del Rey. This is part of a whole set of Oz books, like 12 or so of them, and I've read all of them, and they go into some pretty crazy places. If you read, like, beyond the first book, if you read the rest of them, which they have not necessarily done movies on, they go into some kind of outlandish and wild stuff, and very imaginative for kids and interesting. And look at Toto on the front. But the point that I was going to make, if you look at the front of this book, is that in the book, they were not ruby slippers. See how they're silver there? Silver color. Yeah, that's what Dorothy's slippers were. They were not ruby. I guess they Hollywoodized the slippers, made them a more interesting color for film. And then this is the other Wizard of Oz book, which I think I read a few times, maybe. See, I wrote my name in it. And I even stamped when I got it with my little stamper. Remember those little ink stampers, those little rubber stampers where you change the date? Like you turn the little rubber wheel around to change the date. July 8th, 1977 is evidently when I got this book. So, Wizard of Oz. Yep. Read it a couple times, I am sure. All right, we love Dorothy. Next month, in the next episode of Terrific Non-TV Toys, we will take a look at the other two females of this collection, the two witches, good and bad. And then from there, we will take a look at the male figures as well as the Emerald City play set. So that's how we will progress in this series. I mean, that's a pretty good likeness, do you think? I thought so when I was a kid. I thought that did look a lot like Judy Garland. All right, as always, thanks for watching, and keep it tuned to BRBTV for more terrific non-TV toys.